Hey everyone, today I want to show you how to make this third version of the braided beaded bracelet, and this uses techniques from the last two videos that I've posted on this topic. And this uses 6mm beads in the middle and then these little seed beads that are just some irregular kind of shaped beads that you can get from Michael's or Hobby Lobby. But if you don't like this look, you could always substitute these little beads for some 4mm beads or even 3mm beads, as long as the hole is large enough to fit through your wire. But the original bracelet I made like that is this one, and I made it many years ago, and it's always been one of my favorite bracelets that I've made. So I wanted to teach you all how to make this bracelet. If you don't mind, go ahead and click the like button. That helps me out tremendously. And then also click the subscribe button and the bell notification button so you'll be notified of future video uploads. And also, we're almost at 700 subscribers, and when we get to 1,000, I'm going to do a jewelry tool giveaway. I've already chosen the tool for the giveaway, and in my opinion, it's a really good one that I think someone will get some really good use out of. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then also leave me some comments down below. If you don't mind, at least say hi. And let's get some conversation started about jewelry making. And then also, if you haven't done so, let me know where you're from and let me know some videos that you would like to see me make. And if it's something I know how to do, I will definitely do a video for you. And I'm sorry I didn't post a video last week. Life just really got in the way for me with Easter and then some other personal stuff that was going on. So anyway, I hope you enjoy the tutorial, and I will see you in the next one. Hey everyone, today I wanted to build on the braided beaded bracelet tutorials that I've been doing, and this will be the last one in that series. But this is one that I've made before. I love the way it looks. And I wanted to do one in Georgia Bulldog colors since I'm from Athens, Georgia. So I'm using 6mm black onyx beads. And then I'm using these seed beads. They're not a particular size seed bead. These are just the kind you get at a craft store. And I believe they're glass. So that's what I'm using for that. And then for wire, I'm using 18 gauge Impera wire in champagne. And for my lengths of wire, which I've already straightened and cut, I'm using a 14-inch piece of wire. And then I'm using a 28-inch piece of wire, and this is for a 9-inch bracelet. So to start, I'm going to take my 14-inch piece of wire, and I'm going to bend it like that. And I'm going to use my 6-step bell making pliers, and I'm going to go around this third step up, and I'm just going to pull it across. I'm just going to wrap this around just a couple times, and then I'm just going to pull that across. So now I'm just going to use my electric wire rounder, and this is not something you have to do. It's just something I like to do to finish off a piece. But if you don't want to do that, cut your wire about right in here and then make sure you flatten it out as much as you can. That way you won't have to worry about it hitting your wrist or hitting somebody's wrist. So to do this, I'm just going to go ahead and cut this wire about right here and just give myself a little bit of length that I can press down after I've rounded the wire. But I'm just going to put it on here and I will round that off and then we'll press it around. So now my little end is rounded off, and just to show you how the rounded off end looks, you can see where it's real smooth right there. And so when I press this around, I don't have to worry about getting it flat. I can just press it around and it'll be smooth against the wrist. So now I'm just going to take my tweezer nose pliers by Xuron, and I'm just going to press this little piece of wire around. But I find it helpful to get down in the jaws of the pliers when I'm doing this, because it presses down better and it just makes it a little easier, and that feels really good. And then for the next step, I'm going to find the middle of my 28-inch piece of wire, and I'm just going to find where the ends meet together and then just kind of pull it like that, just to go ahead and get a curve going in it, and get a curve, pull and start pulling it into a curve. And now I'm going to slide my wire into here. And I'm just going to pull it with my fingers to start. But then after it gets a little ways, I'm going to grab it with 2 pairs of pliers, one on either side, not too far from the knot. And you don't want to slide your pliers because that could nick your wire. But I'm just giving it a pretty forceful tug to get this wrapped around. And for the front part of my wire, I want it to be where these wraps are flush with that loop right there. And also for the 28-inch wire, I just want the single loop to be going around right there. So now that I've gotten my wire straightened, and I want to make sure this does not flip over on me, so I'm just going to slide this up and I'm just going to bend my wires down. So I'm just trying to fold these pieces down so that they're coming straight down. And this is going to be a little bit fancier at the beginning than the other bracelets. So I'm going to start out with one of my, and I'm going to refer to these as red beads and black beads, just knowing that the red beads are the glass seed beads and then the black ones are my 6mm beads. So I'm going to take a red bead and I'm going to slide it up the right side wire. And I just want to make sure nothing flips as I'm doing this. And I'm just going to cross that over into the middle while I'm holding that bead. And it's wanting to flip on me, so I'm trying not to let it. So now I'm going to take a red bead and I'm going to go up the left side. And I'm a Georgia Bulldogs fan because I'm from Athens, Georgia. And so that's why I decided to go with the red and black, because I really wanted a Georgia Bulldog bracelet. So now I'm just crossing that left side wire over into the middle. And now I'm just kind of pulling it kind of tight so that braid really holds. I'm just pulling it over tight. And now to get this wire really secured, I'm going to slide a bead up the side of it. So the side wire that's on the side. And this one was originally in the middle. And I'm just going to put it just like that. And I'm just going to slide it over, trying to keep it from flipping, because up until now it can flip. So that's just something you want to keep an eye on. And I'm going to do one more so that I have an even number of beads at the beginning. So I'm just going to slide one of my red beads up the left side. Just like that. And then I'm just going to cross it gently. And I want to run my hands down on my wires, kind of straighten them out. If they get real crooked, use your wire straighteners, but I find that the heat from your hands really does help warm up the wire, which helps with pliability. And they seem to form better. Right here at the beginning, I don't need to really do this, but you might need to. If you need to, just take your pliers. If it's really spaced out and real wide, take your pliers and just gently bend your wires in, just right at the base of that wrap. And now I'm just going to kind of pinch up my wraps all together. And now I'm going to take one of my black onyx beads, my 6mm beads, and I'm going to slide it up that middle wire. And it's the same wire we just crossed over, but we need to do that this way to fit everything into the pattern. So I'm going to take one of my red beads and I'm going to slide it up that right side. So now I want to keep a gentle tension on these wires to keep them from pulling loose, or not pulling loose, but pulling out and being like too wide like that. I don't want that. I want them to be narrow. So I want to keep them kind of pulled in. So now I'm going to cross this wire that I just put the right hand wire that I just put that bead on. I'm going to cross that, and I'm just going to run my hand down that right side wire, because I'm going to go ahead and slide one of my seed beads up it, one of my red beads, And I'm just going to slide that up to the top, just like that. And then I'm going to hold that bead as I cross this wire over. And that traps that black bead in there. And I'm going to take one of my red beads on the left wire. And what I want to do now is I'm going to very gently bend my bracelet, and this will kind of keep everything up here held in place. But I'm just doing a slight curve, not much, just a little bit of a curve, and it just gives that a little bit of structure to help hold everything in place. So basically you're doing your center bead, your right hand side bead, then your left hand side bead, and then on the same wire that you just did your left hand side bead that's in the middle, then that's where you're going to start your pattern over with your center bead. So I'm just going to slide one of the black beads up, just like that. And then I'm going to slide one of the red beads up on the outside right hand wire. And then I'm just going to hold it into place and cross it over. I'm just going to hold that. And now I'm going to hold these two beads. I'm just going to slide red bead up my left hand side wire. And I'm going to hold it in place as I gently cross it. And so now I'm just going to put a gentle curve just to hold these beads into place. And once I get down a little ways, you want to start measuring, because you've got to account for how much room this takes up the end, and always remember that you're going to have a clasp at the end. Whatever clasp you choose to use. Always choose to use some sort of hook closure. And once you've gotten your center bead captured by both sides, that's when you're wanting to slide up your center bead. So now I'm starting my pattern over again. So now I'm just going to take one of my black beads and I'm sliding it up the middle. And then I'm going to hold those in place, and I'm going to slide a red bead up. I'm going to hold that in place, and I'm just going to gently cross over. I'm just going to give my bracelet just a gentle curve to kind of help lock some of these beads up here in place. And I'm going to slide the red bead up it. And now I'm going to cross over, which captures my black bead in the middle. And now my pattern starts over and on the center wire. In just a minute, I'm going to measure and see how far I've come and see how much more I need to go. So I'm just going to slide one of my black beads up the middle, and I'm going to hold these two beads in place so they don't slide off or move. And I'm going to take a red bead and I'm going to slide it up the right hand side. And now I'm going to take that and cross that to the center. And then I'm going to take my left hand side wire and I'm going to take one of my red beads. I'm going to slide it up. And I'm going to hold these into place as I cross that over to the middle. And that captured that black bead. So now, right here is where your pattern is going to start over, but I need to go ahead and measure and just see how much further I need to go so I can do my kind of calculate how far I need to go in total. So I'm just going to kind of straighten this out, and I've been curving it all along, but I'm just going to straighten it out. And I'm just trying to hold everything into place down here so nothing slips. And I'm at 6 inches. And my beginning part, starting right before the black bead, is about 1 inch long. And I need to have room to do like a little bit of a hook closure, which I think I'm going to attach to the bracelet. So I do need to go up to about maybe 7 1/4 inches. But the more you do this and the more you get used to measuring things, the easier it gets. And so now I'm just going to kind of tug all my wires together since I did straighten it out, and I'm going to put that gentle curve back into my bracelet. And you can see how the curve is just, it's not a real harsh curve. Now my pattern is going to start over, so I'm going to slide my bead up the middle. And I'm going to hold this red bead and this black bead together. I'm going to slide my red bead up that right hand side. Now I'm going to hold all 3 beads together, and I'm just going to curve that into the middle. I'm going to put a bead up the left hand side, and I'm going to hold that with my thumb, and then I'm just going to cross that to the middle, and that's capturing that middle bead. So that's how I know when I need to start over with my pattern. So now I'm going to start with my center wire, and I'm going to put a black bead up it. So I'm just going to hold those 2 beads together, and I'm just trying to keep my bracelet fairly straight. And also I'm giving my wires just a gentle tug just to keep everything pulled in and neat. And now I'm going to take a red bead and go up the right hand side wire. And then I'm going to hold that in place, and I'm going to cross that over into the middle. Now the left hand side wire, I'm going to take one of my red beads and slide it up that wire. And I'm going to pull that over, locking that black bead in. And now my pattern starts over now in the middle, on the middle wire. Now I'm going to measure again, because once you get this far, you get to the right length pretty quickly. And I want to go about 3/4 of an inch more. So I'm going to take this middle wire that I just crossed over, and I'm going to start my pattern over. And I'm going to slide that bead up there, and I'm going to hold those beads in place. I'm going to take one of my red beads, and I'm just going to slide it up. And then I'm going to hold that in place as I cross that over to the middle. I just want to give that just a little bit of a curve to hold everything, and slide a red bead up it. Now I'm going to cross that wire over into the middle, locking that middle bead in, locking the black bead in. So now that I've crossed over with that red bead, that middle wire, I'm starting my pattern over. And all this is just one pattern. Once you get it down, you'll have it. And it might take a little bit of practice, but just be patient with yourself. If you get frustrated with anything when you're making jewelry, my suggestion is to step away from it and just come back with it, and come back in 30 minutes or an hour, or even the next day, and look at it with fresh eyes. And I found that to be really helpful. I've slid my black bead up the middle wire. I'm going to put a red bead on that, and I'm just going to hold that into place as I cross over. So now I'm going to slide my hand down the left hand side wire, and then I'm going to put a red bead on there, and we're going to hold that into place as I cross it over. And then that black bead is now captured in there. Now I'm going to check my length. Just need to make sure you calculate like from this point to this point, and add a little bit for your hook clasp. And I definitely need to stop here. So now to finish off this bracelet, I'm going to do just what I did at the very beginning. I'm going to take a red bead and slide it up the right hand side wire, and I'm just going to cross that to the middle and slide a red bead up that wire and cross that over. And I did 4 of these at the very beginning, so I want to do 4 of these at the end. It's on the right hand side, and I'm going to slide one of my red beads a bit, and I'm going to cross that to the middle, holding on to that bead. And now I want to do one more. I'm not looking at this bead that I just did that pattern with on the left hand side, and I'm going to slide a red bead up that, and now I'm going to cross that over to the middle. And so now here's where I want to make sure everything is pulled in nice and tight, and I'm going to start with the wire that would cross over next. which is the right hand side wire, and I'm going to kind of hold these beads and wires in place. And I'm going to take my pliers, my tweezer nose pliers, and tweezer nose pliers are great for this. And this is one set of pliers I recommend for beginners. And if you have questions about tools, definitely check out my tools video that I did. So now that this wire has been pulled around and then across, I'm going to cut it. If you're not going to use a wire rounder, I would suggest cutting it off about right in here, around the middle of the wire, so you can press it down and you don't have to worry about it touching anybody's wrist. So now I'm going to trim that off, and I'm going to leave myself just a little bit of length because I want to use my wire rounder. Okay, so now since that's smooth, I'm going to grab this little end of the wire down on the jaws of my pliers. And also when you're pressing your wire down, grabbing your wire in the jaws, down in the jaws of your pliers, can also help you press it down smooth easier. At least that's been my experience. So I'm just gently pressing this wire around. And you might need to press your wires together a little bit too. Okay, and now that wire is secure and pressed down. So now I'm going to take this next wire and I'm going to cross it over just like I did the other one, and I'm going to actually grab it with my pliers. If you can hear a dog barking, I'm sorry. And I'm just crossing that over and pulling it across. Not completely connected, and I'm going to do the same thing with this wire that I've done with my other wire ends, and I'm just going to cut it off short, and I'm going to use my wire rounder on that end. So now that's smooth and rounded, so I'm just going to take this in the jaws of my plier. I'm going to press that together a little bit, and I'm just going to get it down on the jaws of the plier. And I'm just going to press that around. And you may need to pinch your wires together a little bit just to keep them nice and neat so they don't get all spread apart. And I'm also going to come on the back and pinch these little wraps. You see how those are apart? I'm just going to go ahead and just try to close those in just a little bit. So this is where we're at right now. This is what my finished end that I'm finishing off looks like. So now what I'm going to do before I do my clasp is I'm going to take my hand on either end of the bracelet, and I'm just going to gently curve it in into like an oval. And this will help me with making my clasp. And I'm going to do a fairly short clasp. And actually I want to kind of straighten up this loop just a little bit. So I'm just going to do that and pinch these wires up. So now to do the clasp, I'm going to just cut it, and I'm going to do it directly on the bracelet. I'm going to just cut and leave about 1 inch of wire. So now my bracelet's looking like this. And your clasp could either go kind of out like that, or it could go and curve into it like that. So I want my clasp to actually curve down into my bracelet. So I'm going to make my hook to go down that way. But just before I make my hook, I'm going to round out my wire just so it's nice and smooth. So now that my wire end is nice and smooth, I'm going to take my tweezer nose pliers, and since I want it to actually curve around down into here, and this will make sense in a minute, I'm going to actually bend this wire right here. I'm just going to grab it in the very tip of my pliers and make the smallest little bend that I can. So I'm just going to bend it up. Just like that. And then I'm going to press that down. But now if you press it too hard and too far, this piece of wire will actually cross over and you can actually ruin your clasp. So I like to get it down into the jaws of my pliers like that, and just gently flatten that top part and just very slightly flatten this little looped part out just ever so slightly, but not so much that it overlaps my other wire. I just want to give it a little bit of a flattened appearance. Just like that. I don't want to go any further than that. Okay, so now that I've got that bent up, and I need to make my hook part of my clasp, so I'm going to take this third step off of my veil making pliers, and I'm just going to go right about the middle area of it, a little up further than that. And I'm just going to bend this wire around. So I'm just bending it around, and it kind of twisted on me a little bit. To fix where that twisted, I am just taking my nylon jaw pliers and I'm just flattening it out. Now I just want to make sure my hook fits into my clasp, okay? And it does. So this is our finished bracelet, and I hope you really enjoyed this tutorial. I enjoyed making it. And I know this is a little bit more confusing than the last two bracelets, but once you get that pattern down, it's really pretty easy once you get into that rhythm of that pattern. Hit the subscribe button and the bell notification button, and when we get to 1,000 subscribers, just remember that I will be doing a jewelry tool giveaway to one lucky person, and I would love for all of y'all to be entered for that. And then also hit a thumbs up button. And also in the comment section, let me know what other videos you're wanting to see and what other types of tutorials you're wanting to see. If it's something I know how to do, I'd be more than happy to do it. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.